Without reference to our Creator, there is no framework. Purpose is lacking and anything goes. There is a mindless activity, off color and shallow without Creator, often cruel and self-centered rather than centered in the higher self. With Creator and conscious awareness of our connection to Source, anything is a go and in the right direction. We ask now to keep pointing us there, where our greatest challenges and accomplishments lie, to keep us loyal to a greater purpose that has the potential to create exponential waves of positivity and exuberance for that which we were created, to be our very best human selves in service and divine inspiration for one another, and to be users and consumers only in the sense of your abundant, radiant love. For in this we emulate you in your creation, experiencing yourself, and we discover we are love, experiencing our joyful, unlimited beingness. Let it be so, and so it is.
Amen. Thank you, Charlie.
My pleasure.
Hello, my name's Ron Vrome, and I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. I'm looking at Pat Garrett today. Pat Garrett is the sheriff elected several times of Washington County on Oregon. Now, I talked to Pat yesterday. We've met 3 or 4 times. 3 I can remember, but one I'm thinking is I'm not remembering. But in any case, I met Pat in his office after the people from NLA with Roger and Ray and several others meeting with him. Unbeknownst to me, I met with him shortly after that. That was in 2015 or 2016. And I asked him, why was he not a constitutional sheriff? And in the conversation, we had probably a half an hour conversation. His number 2, who's since retired, was there. And he told me that he took his orders from the district attorney of Washington County. And I thought, well, how in the hell can that be? But that's what he said. Then I wrote him a letter and nothing happened. And then I was at the city council meeting in Beaverton with the Beaverton Oversight Committee, and Pat showed up. And hello, Pat, cordial to him. He was cordial back. I said, I sent you a letter. Did you receive it? He said, did you mail it? Certified return receipt requested. And I said, no, I didn't. And he looked me right in the eye and he said, then I did not receive it. Aha. That tells you clearly where Pat is. A small aside on that, a couple of years later, I'm with private attorney generals across America, and I'm downtown at the Marco Hatfield building introducing myself to the court, the DOJ, and the U.S. Marshals, and the GSA, and going around meeting them all and everything. And they didn't know what to think about me doing that. But in any case, I wound up with 2 marshals following me around. And I went up to the courthouse 740, the United States Federal District Court of Portland at 1000 Southwest 3rd Avenue. And I said, hi, this is what I'm doing. And a supervisor came out. They put a false floor behind the counter so that all of the clerks are higher than the people that are standing on the floor of the room. So when you walk in, unless you're 7 feet tall, you have to look up at the clerks, and the people standing there are a foot taller than you. And a small intimidation thing, I think. So I'm talking to them, and there was one clerk that was quite nice. I won't say his name now. He's since retired. And I said, "How do I deal with you guys? Do I have to send every letter certified, registered, return receipt requested, or how does that work?" And I told him the story about Pat Garrett. And the clerk looked at me and he said, "Ron, this is my name. You address it to me at Courthouse 740, and I will do my job, and I'll mail you your certified stamped receipt of everything you send and file it properly into the court." And I said, "Outstanding." And I did that with him for several years until he retired. One time he wasn't there, and his supervisor got the letter and sent the letter to McShane down in Eugene. It was addressed to my clerk. The supervisor opened it, and because I was a released prisoner, they sent it to the released prisoner judge, who's McShane and Eugene. I might have the nomenclature wrong, but you got the idea. And I came back to him. I said, "Hey, what's going on here?" That was specifically addressed to a specific person, and somebody opened that mail and sent it someplace else. How in the hell does that work? And my friend, my clerk, my deputy clerk, he went to bat for me, and he just raised hell all over there with his supervisor and others. That documents mailed directly to him had better get to him, and he undid all the nefarious bullshit that the supervisor did and McShane tried to do, got it back, and processed the paperwork correctly. That was an aside on Pat Garrett, but it was a good aside. So, anyhow, Pat Garrett is not very responsible or reliable. I was just now looking someplace in here. I'm positive I have his oath. And all the sheriffs on Oregon take an oath, and the oath is to the United States of America's Constitution, Oregon's Constitution, and Oregon's statutes and rules and regulations. So they have a three-part oath. Well, the United States of America's Constitution is the number one law of the land. If you disregard that, you've broken your oath. Period. That's all. Nothing more. The second thing is, in responsibility, Oregon's Constitution comes in second. After that comes in uh, rules, ordinances, mandates, all of those things that do not apply to us, applies to them, but not enforceable on people. Men, women, children, body, mind, spirit, flesh, blood, soul, us, not the persons of the all cap name. And I got into that conversation with Pat yesterday, and he tried to do word art on me, and it was funny, him trying to do word art. Pat, you didn't make it. That's yeah, you didn't accomplish your mission. I've had better people than you try word art on me, and I can spot it in written form and I hear it clear. But in any case, Pat has a three-part oath. And in the very beginning of our Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, I think it was the first document that we did. We contacted all 36 sheriffs. No, it was the second one. Ray and I filed a paper in federal district court against 17 senators that voted for a gun law in violation to their oath and sent that law to the House of Representatives, and they voted it in, and that was in, I don't know, 2018 or 2019. And we delivered the documents, took all the documents, had them notarized. I was notarizing in those days. And Ray and I went to the bank, had them notarized. Lady was nice. She knew me. She knew what we were doing. And we took all the letters, 36 of them to each sheriff and 30 to each senator. And she stamped them all as notarized. We folded them up and put them in envelopes, and she stamped the envelope as notarized. It was sealed. She saw us put it into the envelope and stamped it as such. Then we went and delivered them. Ray and I went to Salem and delivered them to the secretary to the Senate, and she's agent for all senators. So we called her out of session. She was pissed. We called her out of session and we gave her all the documents, and she signed receipt for them that she was going to give them. Oh, pardon me, it was only 17 senators. Give it to the 17 senators who had broken their oath. And then, same day, we went downtown to the Oregon Sheriff's Association, who is agents for the sheriffs, went in there, told them what we were doing, gave them all 36 envelopes sealed. They signed and stamped our receipt as we had served them. Later, I found a sheriff that said, I never got it, but who knows who lies. So, all the sheriffs were notified at that time that Article 7 amended was bogus. And they now knew because we had told them. And this was all certified and stamped and so forth. So all 36 sheriffs got that. Then all 36 sheriffs were notified that if they sell a concealed carry permit, they are infringing upon the Second Amendment. That's all there is to it. You cannot infringe on the Second Amendment. Of course, before I found out all of this, I had a carry permit and I got it from Pat Garrett and I paid, I don't know, $25 for it or something. And I used to always carry a gun everywhere I went, except in a building where there was a court. And Pat sells concealed carry permits. That violates his oath. All 36 sheriffs on Oregon did at that time. I think they all still do.
So, and if they've been notified that this is against the law, the Oregon Constitution, and they're still doing it, then that makes them dishonorable, right?
Absolutely. And they
And unable
acquiesced
to
to it.
hold an office, and I think that all the people in Oregon should know that have elected these sheriffs that they can't hold that office. They need to
Exactly.
find somebody that does.
I agree with you 100%. And Charlie's working on that. Um, where was I? I was ranting about the dishonorable sheriffs on Oregon. At this same time, while working with the sheriffs, I got a hold of a sheriff named Richard Mack, the co-developer of Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Officers Association. And Richard Mack is not all bad, that's for sure. He's trying. How hard he's trying, I don't know. But he covers up for sheriffs. When I was calling sheriffs out and telling them uh, politely, you sleazy bastards, you're breaking your oath and you should stop that. You should, and they didn't care. And several of them got upset with me and wouldn't take my calls anymore. And I found Richard and I talked with him, and he says, you can't talk harshly like that to those sheriffs. What do you mean? They're oath breakers. They have no honor. I talk to them any way I want. They're sleazy. And oh my God, no, Richard Mack, he couldn't handle that. He's in the business of selling a course to sheriff's offices, police stations, chiefs of police. And I think he sold that course to 3 different counties, 2 in Nevada and 1 in New York, maybe more now, that want to be constitutional counties. So good for him. But that's his business. His business is to sell that course. It costs 10 grand, and they teach these people about the Constitution. Now, talk about cart before the horse. All of them have already taken an oath to the Constitution. And if they took an oath to the Constitution and need to be taught a class about it later, something's wrong with that. That juxtaposition of education and oath is
And
wrong.
maybe
You should
points to the
learn
people that
about
elected him into office, right? It
say
points
that
also
again.
something about the people that elect him into office. If they're electing people into office that don't know the Constitution, either the United States or the Oregon Constitution, then they were at failure also.
Oh,
Need
I
to correct.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
I have something to add there. This is Brandon.
Yeah.
Didn't we find that there was also a requirement, like an educational requirement, that not only officers but everybody is supposed to receive 10 something hours or so or whatever of constitutional
10
education.
hours.
Yeah. I think it's a course in Constitution for 5
Right.
years to start no later than the 8th grade.
There we go.
Yes.
That's a
Oh yeah,
good place to
Oh,
start out
Yeah,
with.
yes,
10-hour
sir.
course doesn't seem to freaking get it. Maybe that 10-hour course shows them how to bypass the Constitution when their sweet governor or our former governor, um, uh, Kate Brown there,
Kitzhaber?
and him too, He was a freaking oath breaker also, and
Yes.
dishonorable. You know, so it goes way back. It goes way back to probably before 1910, but definitely we can point to some major changes that were done in 1910 by a freaking dual office holder against the Constitution.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let me get back to my rant and what I'm trying to do with Pat Garrett. I would love it if every single sheriff on Oregon, 11 of them seem to want to. They can't bring themselves to do it, but they seem to want to stand up to Kate Brown and the oligarchy in Salem and say, enough. This stops here. No more. They want to, but they don't seem to be able to. Pat, on the other hand, and I guess the other 25 sheriffs that don't come out against mandates, they would rather oppress me than protect me, as their oath says, and go against Kate Brown, who's a convicted criminal and still in office. We're unable to get the people, no, the persons operating the levers of governance, corporate, incorporated governance, to do their job. But in any case, we have to get these people to do their job. If they would self-correct, do their job, repent, then I can work with them. Anything they've done in the past that's criminal and somebody prosecutes them on, that's another story. But you can repent. You can go forward from here doing right, doing honorable, doing good, and make atonement for your past mistakes, errors, and evil ways. That's all okay. That's fine. That's the Judeo-Christian way of doing things.
I like that you brought that because it does show that, you know, we have been given foresights to recognize that we're not good. We're not inherently good as people, and we you know have a savior that came to um, shed his blood for us, and so they have the opportunity to do like you said, and that's good. I'm glad you brought that up.
All right. Basically, that's why we start every show and everything we do, and whenever we attend or appear, with a prayer. That's where we're coming from. So back to Pat Garrett. So I'm having a go around with two detectives on the Beaverton Police Force that I thought were my friends. They turned out not to be. They turned out to be deceivers like everybody else. But at the time, I thought they were my friends, and I had found an honest cop. And I told them that Pat Garrett was, and they said, "No, no, no, you got it wrong. Pat's not that way at all." And okay, well then let's hear Pat say that himself. So they arranged a meeting with Pat Garrett, his number two guy, whose name was Sean, I think, or Shane. He's since retired, and Camby's and Ray and Ron. The five of us met for coffee in Hillsboro. We probably talked for an hour, hour and a half. And Pat says, I'm going to treat everybody the same. Well, you can't treat everybody the same. We're not all the same. There are people and there are persons. There's de facto and there's de jure. There's U.S. citizens and there's Oregonians. There's men, women, and children, flesh and blood. And there's the all caps version of your name in the de facto. He knows all of that and he chooses to disregard it. Talked to him yesterday on the phone. He still disregarded it yesterday. Where's the piece? As soon as I got off the phone yesterday, I called up. Can you see the heading on the top of that? Yeah, there it is. Washington County Risk Management. Me against Pat Garrett. I filed the papers yesterday on him. We don't have a bond for most people on Oregon in municipal, county, or state. They have risk management instead. I can't remember the name of the lady that runs risk management for the state. Nice person. I've talked to her several times. Richard knows her too. But Tobias Reed has a bond. He's the treasurer. But there's very few bonds among all of these appointed and elected persons in the incorporated governance on Oregon. Most of them, they circumscribe or circumvent the Constitution and they use risk management insurance provided by the state of Oregon so that there is some form or some modicum of some
That sounds like a
wages.
conflict of
or-
interest to me.
Explain
Because
that.
you yourself, right? They're part of the government and they're being bonded by the government. It should be a separate entity if they're going with insurance.
Yes. Well, this was explained to me one time. If you're going to run for office and you have to be bonded, you can go buy a bond so that you're a bonded candidate. You're not some fly by night. You're a bonded candidate. And if you get elected, you have a bond. But they cancel the bond after you're elected because they know, the bonding companies know that you are corrupted. As soon as you're elected, you're no longer bondable. They don't want to bond you anymore. If you want to be reelected, you have to go to the state's risk management fund to get in lieu of bond because the bonding agencies don't want anything to do with a man or a woman that has been the sheriff and now wants to be reelected. They already know, so they won't bond him again.
Yeah,
Now
so once
that's
again,
wrong.
the money proves it. The money
Yes.
proves the whole facts right there. Because the money only follows a good chance.
Yes. Yep. So you're right. There is a conflict of interest there. So dealing with Pat some more. We have the meeting, 5 of us, and Pat refuses to honor his oath. Right in our face. I'm going to treat everybody the same. So there's no way to deal with this guy. Not long after that, I got arrested again. And I was tried and convicted and did 20 days in Pat's jail. So I know, wait a minute. I love this one. People say to me, all right, let's see some government issued photo ID. I say, okay.
Uh,
There it is. Government issued photo ID. And I carry it all the time to remind me. The judge that tried me and had me found guilty said to me, you're a person and I will try you as a person. And he did. He said, if you say the word jurisdiction one more time in my court, I'll find you in contempt and put you in jail. That's pretty clear. You know, don't want to say contempt jurisdiction or be in contempt and go to jail. That's
so did you do it?
intimidation.
Yeah, that
Did
was my
I?
question.
So did you
Did
say
I?
it?
No, hell no.
Oh, you
You
should
went to
have.
jail anyway, right?
Yes, I did go to jail
See,
anyhow.
then I would have said
That
it.
probably
I
because you
would.
didn't say it one more time, and he knows that if you keep challenging it, then they will eventually have to freaking let you go.
Okay, I agree with everything you guys are saying, but that's where the hockey stick comes on the bell curve.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was I was in a learning process. The first time
Right.
I the first
yeah.
time I was tried, Richard was there and I was doing miserably. And Richard says, "Ron, you're not prepared for this. You know, you need some help." And so I accepted help from an attorney, and I'll not do that again. But you have to learn all of these things.
That
If you don't own it, if you just say, I challenge your jurisdiction, okay, you'd better put a paragraph and a half after that So saying everything you know about jurisdiction and call out everything and look the judge right in the eye so that he knows.
Yep.
Because they will lie to you and they will bluff you. They will intimidate and bully you. I know, I've been there, done that, learned that the hard way. You don't want to
Yeah.
go inside their bar. Anything you can, not anything, almost anything you can do to stay out of their court, out of their bar, is what you have to do. That's why we have the
Yeah.
claim of cognizance. Go ahead, Brendan.
I was just gonna say, yeah, and when you do, if you do ever stumble in their fictitious court, that's not a court of law. You know, the best thing to do if you can't think of anything else is to ask them questions. Just put them on the spot and ask them anything. I mean, you can ask them any questions and tell them that you don't understand. You don't agree with what's going on. You don't understand why you're there because it has nothing to do with you.
I agree, but you should put all that in writing and file it into the court long before you ever go to a court date. Once they get you arrested, once you're arrested and you're in the system and you're in the jail, now you'd like to go home. You'd like to eat. You'd like to be able to sleep in your own bed. You'd like to do all these things that you you were disrupted from by being arrested and incarcerated. Okay, so then they say, sign this piece of paper saying that you will appear for your arraignment in our court and we'll let you go home. If you don't sign it, then I'll stick you back in a cell and we'll look for you in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Been
Hard
there,
belief in there.
been there, done that.
That
Firsthand
right there.
experience here, right here.
Yep, under duress, coercion.
Yep. But in those days, we didn't have a civilian court of record. There was no place to go. There was
Correct.
nothing I could do about it. Ray and I did a lot. Filed 11 cases into federal district court, Portland, the United States Federal District Court, before we found out that it wasn't even an Article 3 court. It's totally bogus, just like the one in Eugene. That's the way it is. Every single one of them. You read Mukini 301 and there it is. It doesn't say this, I'm paraphrasing, but in Mukini 301 it says any court, no, it doesn't say this. It alludes to this, and this is what I gathered from it. Any court whose name begins with the United States cannot be an Article 3 court.
Mm.
And every federal district court you go to says United States Federal District Court. And then after you find one, they have to claim original jurisdiction, which they won't do. So they deny you due process. They've had a lot of practice at this. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid. They're extremely smart in law and legal, and they're doing everything they can to be the tyrant. And they're doing a good job of it. Look what Kate Brown is doing.
Yep.
Skinny little chick doing evil. Back to
And
Pat.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. What'd you have to say?
Well, I was going to say that's how the our elected officials end up being corrupted, unless they were corrupted before, of course. But these courts put pressure on our sheriffs and our governor, or our mayors and our governors to put the squeeze on people out there. You know,
Yes, they do.
threaten them with jail time and foreclosing on them somehow because of tax evasions or whatever.
Take
Right?
their
It's the
take their
whole
kids
big
away
corrupt
from
system.
them.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I talked over you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the kid thing's a huge problem, right? Because how do you not sign your name when your kids are involved, right? Yeah, it's man, how can you even do it? You sign it now and hope for a better day tomorrow, or I don't know. It's a bad situation.
It is. We can't give another
Well,
inch. Not
in a situation
another inch.
like that, you sign as the beneficiary with the beneficiary signature, and you notify the court, the judge, which is actually the administrator of your Cesta K trust, that they can go ahead and close the action that they have against you, because it's not you that they're after, it's your trust. And then if or when they release you with that signature on that, you can later come back and send them a conditional acceptance letter, which will bind them by contract law, and then you can go after their trust. But
Yes.
I mean, I'm learning about that myself, so I'm not an expert on it, but I'm just saying that is a great solution.
Yes, it is. And thank you for
Put
that
it- put that-
information.
Yeah, we should put that into action and document it. Put it on our show here.
We're doing it.
We're working on it. Yep, we
Yep.
will be.
Yep. We're going to have our own resident expert. He's going to the school of Christopher Hauser now. No, that's
Yeah. Yep. And
uh
I'll be doing my own, looking into trust law and contract law as well, which are certainly higher forms than the zoo court law.
how does that go? Russell-J Gould,
Mhm.
beneficiary. Yeah. Back to Pat. So we've met with him several times. Caught him by the phone yesterday. Did I mention that? He picked up his own telephone. Surprise, surprise, Pat. Ron Vroman's on the line. Oh, I should have not picked up the phone and let it ring and had somebody else go to voicemail, but we got to talk again. And that culminated in this again. So, when we look at what's going on and we look at the number one executive officer on our county, on Oregon, and what's the one in Multnomah County? Michael Reese?
I'm not sure. I don't know
I
the name.
think that's it. Then Pat Garrett's on Washington County, and Joe Joe something. Kemp is in Marion County, and we all know firsthand that those people do not do a constitutional job and they violate their oath. I was talking to a person today. No, she's one of the people, but she has cognitive dissonance, and I suffered from that for many years. I got cured when I was 75. But when you have cognitive dissonance, it's something in your brain is wrong. Brandon has it. When you know that smoking is bad for your health, you know that smoking is not something that you should do. You know this, you comprehend it, and yet you continue to do it. And it's not because you're stupid or you're ignorant, it's because you have a disease called cognitive dissonance. You're able to hold within your brain, I want to smoke cigarettes. And I know it's against my health and it's against everything that's correct. I don't care. It's too hard to give up. That's where the lady was today. She says,
Hey,
Ron, what?
easy, old man. I just made a commitment to my daughter last night that I'm done for good, and I woke up this. I haven't.
I quit 43 years ago.
I quit 16, almost 17 years ago.
Good. Yeah. Glad you did that, Brandon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
But yes, I understand you're using it as an example. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's
I
okay.
yield.
You're a good example. And give Carmen a hug and a kiss, and she's precious.
Of course.
Yes. Now I got all emotional and I've lost my place. Oh, I was talking to the lady about, she says, I can't possibly believe that these people are evil. They can't all be evil. And I said, well, okay, how do you determine evil? She said, well, and she had a pretty good handle on evil. And then my question was, if you acquiesce to evil and you let evil exist and you don't do anything about it, then you are evil. She says, well, that's a little harsh. No, it's not harsh. If you know you're acquiescing to evil, then you're evil. There's no way around it.
Hard pill to swallow, yes.
Yes.
But it's there.
Yeah. And the cognitive dissonance in her won't let her see that her friend that is a representative in the Oregon House actually knows what she's doing, is aware of what the evil is that's going on, and while she may vote against it, she's still in it, and she's not denouncing it, and she's not on the street corner on a soapbox saying, this is evil, what's going on. The closest one we have to it is Mike Neerman. I've met him. He's the rep that opened the door when we were there. You were there with me. He opened the door to the courthouse, to the state house, and let us into at least the foyer. And they threw him out of the legislature for it. But he's the only one that opposed evil. They have not the right to hold legislative meetings on Oregon without me and you in the gallery. That's the way it's written. That's the law. And Kate Brown and what's her name? Kochek, Tina Kochek, and Peter, President of the Senate, Courtney, those people, no, those persons broke their oath, and every single one of them in that building broke their oath. And they are oath breakers, unfit to hold an office. And the only one that went against them was Mike Neerman, and they threw him out. That you cannot let cognitive dissonance rule your life. It is impossible to pick up the turd of corruption in government by the clean end. That's not there. These people have to repent, confess, and get straight with Jesus or their God and stop their evil ways. That's the only way out of it, or they have to be removed. Pat Garrett has to be removed. And I'm doing another aside. A while back, a couple of years, Pat Garrett did something, and no, that's not going to fly. So I went down and I registered with Kauai, the elections clerk for Washington County. I registered as a U.S. citizen, and she knows me, and I know her, and signed all the paperwork, and I became a U.S. citizen. I gave up my status as an Oregonian. As a man, I became the all caps version of my name in the de facto so that I could fill out the paperwork and start a recall position on Pat Garrett, Edmund G. Pat Brown. There, Jerry's dad. So anyhow, back to a
Recalling
petition.
Pat Garrett.
Yeah, a petition to recall Pat Garrett. So I got all the paperwork done, notified Pat. I forget. Roger took me, and we served the papers on Pat, so he knew that I was doing it. And I notified all of the sheriffs, and one of them, smartass, notified me back. He says, "Oh, I thought you were an Oregonian. Now you're a U.S. citizen." And I emailed him back, "Yes, I am. I can expatriate. I can move from being one to the other because I'm a man. I'm a sovereign. No ruler, no subject." And that sheriff shut up. They all do. They try and they can't stand. They can't hold the field. If you abandon the field, you acquiesce, and they do. So after I got all the paperwork done and everything, I knew I wasn't going to be able to go out and get 35,000 people to sign this petition. It was ridiculous. So I went down and I withdrew my citizenship, and I canceled my membership in the Oregon pool of voters. And Kauai was nice, and she canceled it. She says, of course, this will cancel your recall on Pat. And I said, yeah, I know. Pat also knows that I know, and I did what I could. If you can't win, you can at least fight. And that's how it is. I talk to people, and full-grown men, and have you ever been in a fist fight? Oh no. How in the hell did you get to be a full-grown man and never get into a fist fight? I can't comprehend that. And there's lots of them around. No, I've never been in a fist fight. Nobody ever did anything and wouldn't back down, and you had to throw down. Nope. Something's wrong. Something's wrong there. Really good friend of mine from third grade. He's one of them. He has never been in a fist fight. He's 83 years old. He's 6'2", 270. He's a big man. He's strong. But he has that personality that's non-confrontational, and I'll figure out some way of doing this without having to fight. And that guy always loses. Always. If you're not willing to do what the evil guy is willing to do, you lose. And trying to explain that to this lady today, it's really difficult when you have the disease of cognitive dissonance and you can hold in your head that, like my daughter, I said, "Listen, girl, Trump is an oath breaker. He's unfit for office. He has no honor." She says, "Yeah, Dad, but he did a lot of good. And just because he signed bump stock, and just because he signed red flag, that doesn't make him bad. He did a lot of good while he was there." That's wrong. That's wrong. No matter how much good you do, if you knowingly and intentionally break your oath and you have no honor, you're unfit for office, a position of trust. And that's it. There's no way around that. Now, that person can apologize, repent. Even Jordan Peterson came to Jesus, so anybody can do it. I'm positive of it.
Exactly.
But
With the ex-president there. Well, I think maybe he actually made it through that and they lied, but that's a different subject. But you know, is he lying now? Was he lying then? I mean, is he going to lie tomorrow? I mean, you know, correct yourself, or we're just going to think, well, God, is this another lie? You know?
Yep, that's exactly it. There's no way around it.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.